There's a moment every entrepreneur hits. You're working harder than you ever have. The calendar is packed, but the inbox feels endless. That to-do list never gets shorter, and somehow the business still isn't growing the way that it should be. But the problem isn't effort. The problem is leverage. Welcome to the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, John Davidson, and every week I'm sitting down with founders and top performers who have found that lever. The hire, the system, that mindset shift that changed everything. This show is for the business owner who's ready to stop being the bottleneck and start being the architect. Let's get into it. Another episode of the Leverage Podcast. I am your host, John Davidson, and it is my pleasure to be joined by Dani Burns. She is the founder of Luxe Real Estate and is focused in the Lake Lanier and Gainesville areas of Georgia. Dani, not Dani.
That's
Dani,
right.
Thank you for joining me on the show today. Before we got going here, I had a little confusion with your name. So for those who are calling or saying, hey, I need your services, you're so incredible, after they hear about all you do at the end of this episode, just to confirm, it's Dana, not Dani. Do I have
It's
that right?
Dana. That's right. Like Dana.
All right. Well, if you want to know that backstory, call Dana and ask her. But
Yeah.
we're going to talk about real estate here today. I'm so excited to have you join me today. To get started, tell me what makes Lake Lanier and Gainesville areas a great place to buy a home.
Well, I think what brings most people to our area is our proximity to Atlanta. We're about an hour north of Atlanta, so it makes for a great second home or primary, residence if you can make that commute. We're easily accessed off of like Georgia 400 and I-85. So just our location alone. Our price point, you can still, I feel like is good. You can get a home on Lake Lanier with a dock, still under $1 million. And then we have communities where you can have, the amenities and community docks. And then we have a lot of people coming from all over the world and a lot from Florida who want to escape hurricanes, but still love water and sunshine. So that's been nice to sell to those folks as well.
I spent 1 year in Orlando when I was 20 years old, and I experienced 3 hurricanes.
Yeah.
And one of them, some of my friends went up north to Georgia and were planning to escape. I buckled down and found a generator and a friend with a strong foundation. But I can definitely relate to needing to get away from that if you're in the Florida area. Well, if rumor has it, Dana, if the rumors are true, this is your 25th year in real estate. Is that right?
It is. It is.
Congratulations on a quarter century.
Thanks.
Take me to the very beginning of this journey. What originally attracted you into real estate?
So, my senior year of high school, I was doing like a work-based learning program, and I just knew that I was going to be an attorney because that's just what I always wanted to be. So I went to work at an attorney's office for half a day at school. And back then we typed checks, and I was typing some large checks to Remax, Century 21, all these different
Ah,
brokerages. And I had no idea until I got my first check how that actually works. But I was interested in the income. And at that time, I realized that my hometown, which is Blue Ridge, Georgia, was really turning into a vacation destination. So I ended up going to college for a semester. I come home, work at the attorney's office. I'm like, I'm just going to get my real estate license. These guys are doing great. And to my parents' dismay, I hit the ground running. I didn't finish college, and there's nothing like, not having a plan B to make you work hard. So here I am 25 years later.
wow. Well, something worked out, and clearly you've had a level of success, of course. Now, over the course of these 25 years, what has proven out to be the greatest source of leverage in your business, whether that be systems, teams, a mindset, or something else?
Yeah. So, let's see. As I would say, for a long time, for the first probably 6 years, I really didn't leverage anything. I didn't even know what that word was. I was just doing it all. But my first leverage actually might be different than what some people say. For me, my first leverage was a housekeeper because I felt
Ah,
this need to be a super wife and mom and run this super business. And for me, having things and having help at home helped me be more productive during the hours I had at work. So it first came a housekeeper, then came a transaction coordinator.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you focus on luxury real estate, right?
Yes.
Now, as you focus on luxury real estate at this moment, what are some of those key differences for those listening between a luxury client and your traditional real estate client?
So, it's all the same process, right? So I didn't start out in luxury. I started out selling $200,000 cabins, and then moved areas and moved up in price point. And so it's still the same transaction. What changed along the way was my confidence in myself, learning to just be in places where luxury buyers were. I, joined country clubs and different things along the way. Learned that everyone wasn't a first time home buyer and I didn't need to speak to them that way. Learning, about investments and reasons, set the benefits of second homes and those kind of things. So I think, just the education is what differentiates a beginning agent from somebody who's able to work in the luxury space. Plus, just being able to realize that luxury buyers often have amazing customer service and other industries or other, avenues that they're spending their money in. So
Right.
you need to, as a realtor, bring that same white glove service that they're accustomed to and do that at a high level.
That's a great point. A lot of time in across industries, when you're dealing with a premium brand,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes there's not that much differentiation between the product, but it's truly the service that people are paying for. And so if you're used to that across your consumer experience, that would make sense that it's consistent in real estate as well. Well, I know as well, Dana, that you're involved in real estate investing. How did you get into investing yourself to start out?
Yeah, so I was a little forced into investing in the recession. Back in 2007 is when I had my first Airbnb, and that was out of necessity because I was building some spec homes. They wouldn't sell, so I turned those into Airbnbs. Trudged down that road a while. Ended up buying some, Airbnbs at the beach, which I personally find perform better than mountain listings kind of in my area.
Hmm.
So went that route for a while. And then I've flipped homes along the way. I've bought lots and flipped those. And it's changed the way that I can communicate with investors because I know the tax benefits. I know, just what makes a good short-term rental. That's probably what I specialize in when it comes to investing. So I know what to look for. I know what will perform. I know where to tell you to get the bedspread that you can wash in 10,000 times on Amazon, So just
Right.
knowing the insides and outside of things is super helpful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that your experience being an investor yourself has really helped you, client facing, kind of being on both sides of the table there. Now, I know that you also work with developers
Yeah.
and emerging communities. What kind of originally attracted you to those markets?
So the developments that I have now, my husband, who's a CPA, introduced me to the owner and developer of, and 7 years later, we've built one, two, three, four communities together. And I simply wanted to do that. These particular communities are walkable to our downtown area, and downtown Gainesville has really transformed. I think if you're somebody who lives in an area that is transforming or sells in an area where that downtown is really being revitalized, it's great to get in on that. And when you love where you live, it's easy to sell, right? So I wanted to be able to watch and be a part of our downtown community being transformed. And that includes the neighborhoods and the living arrangements around what's being built in the downtown area.
Wonderful. So for those new agents listening and they're
Hmm.
thinking, okay, I just got started, but I love what Dana's talking about, and I would like to get involved with real, real estate developments. What
Hmm.
are the first steps, how somebody can navigate that when they're just starting out?
Every developer is looking for land. And every developer, no matter what their listing agent is or how they want land. So I would say that if I wanted to sell a development, I would start with finding the land that you would want to put the development on, and then find your investor, because that's the hardest part.
Okay. And how do we go about finding the land?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just, I've ridden around and be like, okay, what's this address? Write it down, mailed letters, picked up the phone, found the phone number, called. Just for me, old school stuff like that works the best. But yeah, I've done the same thing with like dilapidated houses, dilapidated lake houses, where I'm out on Lake Lanier and looking up and I'm like, what, write down the dock permit number. So I think any successful realtor has got to kind of be a bloodhound and dig in and find those deals. And, whatever you're interested in, get into that in a deep way.
Yeah, that's great advice. Really follow your passion and then
Yeah.
kind of get your boots muddy, right? Boots on the
Yeah, that's
ground
right.
and get out there and figure out what's going on. Well, I know over 25 years, you probably know how to develop some fantastic relationships, and I want to get into some of your insights on that. But before we do that, let's listen to a short message from our sponsor, Sphere Rocket.
Business owners and entrepreneurs will place a proven executive assistant VA for just $4 to $8 an hour, and if they don't perform, you don't pay. Imagine freeing up 20 plus hours a week by someone handling your most time consuming tasks like admin work, managing emails, scheduling meetings, and so much more. This one hire could transform your productivity and give you back the time you need to focus on growing your business. At Sphere Rocket VA, we make this possible in as little as 7 days. We'll place a proven executive assistant VA in your business for just $4 to $8 an hour, and your VA will take over day-to-day administrative tasks, help manage your email and calendar, follow up with past clients, giving you back 20 plus hours a week so you can increase your sales and even enjoy more personal time. And here's the best part. If they don't give you back 20 plus hours a week in the first month, you don't pay Sphere Rocket a dime. We've done this for thousands of business owners, and now it's your turn to see the results. Click the link around this video to schedule a demo and discover how this one hire can completely change how you run your business. Remember, if within 45 days the VA doesn't perform, you don't pay.
All right, we are back here with Dani Burns, and she is sharing what makes North Georgia an incredible place to live, as well as her insights based on her 25 years in real estate. Dani, thank you again for joining me here. So before the break, we're discussing relationships, and relationships are crucial to a real estate career, right? Share with us what you have learned over the last 25 years that have really enabled you to be successful in the long term.
So, when I said that I got into it because I love typing the checks, what I know for sure is that may have been the reason that I was attracted to the business, is the amount of money you can make in homes. But what's kept me here for 25 years is the people. And
Mm.
I'm service oriented. I have a heart for service, and I just putting that first and the rest will come has served me well over and over. I have lots of repeat business from different clients. I tell you, one thing I would do sooner is really get in on my database, have that tuned in, and prospect around my database, do those touches. I don't think I was probably, I mean, really, honestly, the last 6 years, I've ran a good database and, done all the things you should do. But that means for like 19 years before that, I didn't. And
Oh, wow.
that's something that I would really start sooner and do better looking back, because it is, like you're saying, the relationships are everything and you have to nurture those.
Yeah. So for those starting out, how would you advise nurturing those relationships? You meet
Yeah.
somebody who either know or you've never met before, and you're going through this transactional process of helping them solve the biggest problem that they may have ever had in their personal lives. How do you go through helping them in that moment to really building a long-term relationship to where they're coming back for you for their next house, or they're giving positive word of mouth referrals to their neighbors and friends?
Yeah, so I'm pretty intentional about that now. I have a monthly newsletter that goes out. It's amazing how many people just email back and forth when that goes out with a question or this or that. I'm going to host 2 meetups a year, nothing expensive or crazy, just coffee and invite all my clients, and ice cream in the summer and invite all my clients. So we're going to have those touches there. And then I'm going to reach out on their home anniversary if I've sold them a home. So for buyers. And then I'm just going to at least twice during the year touch them with a phone call or text saying, hey, thinking about you, hope you're doing well, or asking a personal question, something like that. And that alone is a good bit when you do the two events that they can come to. So I think that's great. And I'm not shy to, say, gosh, if y'all think of anybody, let me help them. Let me know, who can I help next? And I genuinely mean it. I don't like to say, who do you know who's looking to buy or sell? I need that
Sure.
script to feel like me. And for me, it's who can I help? Who do you know that needs a home?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of agents who I speak with are like, make sure everybody knows what you do for a living,
That's it.
right? You don't
Yeah.
have to be pushy or anything, but I found that, when you just mention what you do, hey, yeah, I'm a realtor, people just open up the conversation. And I'm curious if this is consistent with other guests because I've heard the same answer. So when you tell someone you're a realtor, what's the common first question that you get?
How's the market?
Yes.
Absolutely. And you better always have an answer to that in your back pocket if you go to a dinner party or an
Uh,
event or any of
yeah,
those things, because that's always the first question. And
100%.
always make it positive too, right? We're not
Oh,
always in a
yeah.
great market, but there's something positive that can come from that market. So, right now I'm saying it is a great time to buy a home because it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're not, and then what do you tell a
I'm not
seller
saying
if
it's a great time
somebody's
to sell a home.
right? So if it's a great time to buy and not the greatest time to sell, how are you having that conversation with somebody who says, you know what, I've actually been planning to put my house on the market.
Then we're going to highlight how, we may not get what we got a few years ago during the COVID times, but you're going to get a great deal on your buy and it'll all kind of level out. You're not going to pay as much either. So it all levels out.
Yeah, that's a good way to frame it. Now, you said specifically 2 meetups a year.
Yeah.
Is the amount of meetups strategic? Is the timing strategic with the seasonality of the business? Or is it just because, hey, I don't got time for more than 2 because I'm running this business or other factors?
Yeah. Right now it is probably, I don't have time for more than 2, but those are, I don't know, that's just always worked for me. I don't necessarily have like data to support that. I felt like twice was good. I do I love you a latte event, so that's the coffee event. And we do that around February and around Valentine's Day. People don't have a lot of things going on in February. That's probably my better attended event. And then
Mm-hmm.
usually sometime end of August, 1st of September, I'll do an ice cream social event where we meet up. It just seems that one's attended, but not as well as the coffee event. So I try to base it around that too. Like I don't want to be throwing it in there when people have 1 million other things going on, like
Right.
Christmas time or, so, but, other successful people around me do a Santa Claus event and a Easter bunny thing. So I think there's a lot of different things you can do. With my clientele and people I'm selling to, they don't always have that young kid crowd. So I feel like those events maybe wouldn't work as well for me. So
Mm-hmm.
they would have grandkids. So I don't know, but coffee and ice cream work well for me. And I love both. So
Boom. So it sounds like really like lean into what's natural to you and your personality, and that's going to shine through to your customers because you're going to have a great time because you're really all about the theme of the party and
yeah.
and also consider the busyness that other people have in their schedules around that time too.
That's right. And I would just say, that kind of made me think when you said lean into what's good for you and what's natural for you.
Mhm.
Um, there's this like saying or trend in our business to just really get out of your comfort zone and just push yourself. And I think that's needed at times. But for lead generation, for those type things, doing things that you actually like to do, for me, has ended up paying off so much better than forcing myself to pick up a phone and cold call. So I don't know. I feel
Right.
like that's something that I like to say because other people aren't saying that. They're saying, do this, do that. And I think you should lean into what feels good to you, what you want to do, right? It's a short
Yeah.
life. Enjoy what you're doing.
Well, I heard just last week somebody said to me, John, the work follows the passion. And so the things that you are more interested in doing, I mean, anybody who owns their own business, especially, finds out real quick that what you spend the most time on, whether you should or not, is the stuff that you enjoy doing
Yeah,
the most, right? And so there's
exactly.
obviously parts about our businesses that might not be the most enjoyable, but if you can somehow structure that around something that you do enjoy, like coffee and ice cream,
Yeah,
then you're more likely to do it and you're going
exactly.
to get out there and get your name going. Yep. Well, I know, like we've said multiple times on this episode, this is your 25th year,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you have some new and growing things happening this year in year 25. Why don't you share those things with us?
Yeah, so this year, I started a team with 2 other ladies. We're called Luxe Real Estate. To date, we're going on our 125th home since January as a team, so that's
Wow.
exciting. And then we're expanding. We're expanding north to Lake Burton, and we're expanding south into St. Simon's Island, Sea Island, the Golden Isles area. So we have a lot going on. I'm super excited about that. I personally look forward to, I don't want to say retiring because I don't think I'll ever quit, but moving full time to St. Simon's in a couple of years and growing that branch of our business.
Cool.
And yeah, and then just continuing to serve here and serve even further up in the mountains. So we're growing and expanding.
Wonderful. Well, there's two new areas of focus. And what were they again?
Yeah, so it's Lake Burton and
Uh-huh.
then St. Simon's.
Great. So what attracted you to those places and what makes those places a great place
Yeah,
to buy a
so
home as well?
I grew up vacationing on the Gulf Coast of Florida, but my husband grew up vacationing and being on in St. Simon's Island and at Sea Island. His family was a member there, and that's where they always went. So he introduced me to that, and I instantly fell in love with the big oaks and the moss and all the things that come with low country, right? Like the marsh and I actually found out that I loved hard packed sand because I love to walk on the beach. And to me, that's easier
Oh,
to
okay.
walk in. And there's just a vibe there. It's the place where I go to relax, and I cannot wait to sell that to others. I actually have my most successful Airbnb that I've ever owned there. So that
Wow.
does well for investments. And it's almost a year round rental there. There's different things going on at different times. So we're, of course, a little bit slow in January, February, but really March through the end of the year is busy. So I love that for investment purposes too. And then Lake Burton, I'm a mountain girl. I grew up in Blue Ridge, Georgia. This is kind of just across the mountain from that. Some of the girls on my team have a love for that area. It's a beautiful mountain lake with huge vistas.
Oh, wow.
Also a good area for short-term rentals. And so we're drawn to that area as well.
I love that. Boy, if I was in the market, I'd be calling you up and scheduling a tour, maybe in the years to come. We'll
All
see.
right.
So one thing that has impacted real estate is technology, right? And I
Yes.
think I mean, especially nowadays, it's impacting every aspect of business. You've been in the business for 25 years. Looking forward, do you see much changing for those who are successful in real estate as far as leveraging technology? Or do you think that, the principles that have gotten you here to date will keep you here? What's your perspective on that?
I think those agents who can embrace AI, lean into it and use it for its, the good things it can bring, the way it can give us time back by doing tasks that, we used to spend more time on and
Yeah.
those kind of things. I think if you can embrace that to free up your time to do the personal things that it can't do, like those
Hmm.
personal relationships and connections, to me, that will be the key. That those will be the ones who succeed. I don't think people say, "Do you think AI is going to take over your job?" When's the last time you saw AI washing a toilet or sweeping a floor before a showing, right? So I'm like, no, I don't. You need me to be there. You want my energy, you want my passion, and you want, AI can tell you what an average rental rate is for an Airbnb or what this or that sells for, but I'm here boots on the ground, a human to communicate with. And so I just think our industry will always be one that people will be in, and that we'll need the blend of both.
Yeah, if I could get AI to fold some laundry, that would really
Right?
impact me
Yes,
personally.
mine too. That'd be
Uh,
our at-home leverage.
100%. Well, it's so funny because, every successful agent I talk to on the show, they always talk about spending time in person with the client, and really that personal connection is what has enabled them to be successful. And so it really sounds like, you know, that's just going to create more of those moments and opportunities because you can get that administrative work done faster. You can get stuff off your plate that is not in person, but I think, especially during COVID, one thing that I learned was there is no replacement for human in-person interaction. And in the real estate industry, that's especially important as you're learning to all those actual problems that your clients have that they're looking for you to solve. Well, I have a few more questions for you here, Dana. And one is to go, I know you mentioned that you would build a CRM a little bit earlier in your career, but with all that you've learned over 25 years, to go back to day one when you stepped into real estate, big eyes on these big checks, and you've got dreams of grandeur, and then you were soon about to realize the realities of this industry, good and bad, I'm sure. If you were to talk to yourself on day one, what advice would you give your former self with all you've learned now?
Oh gosh, let's see. I would invest sooner. I would never sell any home that I had bought. Looking back, oh my gosh, if I had every home I'd
Oh,
ever owned. So I tell my children that now, I would turn many more things into long-term rentals and of course the Airbnbs as well. So investing soon and using your craft for you. I should have done that sooner. Like we said, the CRM. I think the other thing is I'd give myself a little more grace. I would figure out I hate the term work-life balance because it's not balanced, but I
sure.
would set some boundaries. Now I answer my phone from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., not 24 hours a day. So just putting in some things like that, I think would have helped me avoid some pretty strong burnout periods.
Yeah,
My bills always keep me coming to the table to work. So that's the motivation. But I think I could have avoided some burnout that I've had along the way by just setting boundaries. So those are kind of some of the things that I would do sooner and better.
yeah. I had a job early in my career, and my boss was so good at setting boundaries with clients. And I remember him saying, "John, the client's emergency isn't our emergency."
Yeah,
And while you do want to provide exceptional client service, and that doesn't mean
sure.
you're not doing that, that means helping the client understand, hey, I'm a human too. And I had another guest who said, you got to train your clients on how to treat you.
So it's
But
in
to
my
do that,
listing presentation now,
uh-huh,
how
yeah,
we're going to, we talk about how do they like to communicate and what hours I'm available. I try not to work on Sundays. I say that as well. So, just doing some things like that and not just being forever. I ran my business where I was at their beck and call. Just
yeah,
if you need me, I'd drop anything. I would go. To me, that equaled success. That equaled, doing a good job. And then I've just learned along the way that, you know, at the sacrifice of me, and and the one
right.
doing the work. So it's been a good change, probably the last 5 or 6 years. The other thing I would do is I was on a team for a long time. I would believe in myself and that I could branch
Mm,
out and grow. I would just try that sooner, So I think teams are probably meant to be, eh, everybody has a different time frame, but if you've been on a team for 3 to 5 years, you're probably ready. Or, just have that conversation with yourself and assess your goals. Maybe you don't want to do that. But for me, I should have gone on my own and believed in myself sooner.
yeah, that's really, really great advice. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Another question I have for you. So I don't know about you, but in my life, I wish I learned more when I won. When things go well, I wish I
Mhm.
learned more because I tend to have to learn from the hard lessons, from the failures, from the mistakes. But it's a blessing, it's and a silver lining when you do learn from a failure and a mistake, means it's not a lost opportunity. I'm curious, when was there a time in the last 25 years of your real estate career where it felt like a failure at the moment, but it produced one of the greatest lessons that you've learned throughout your career?
Ooh, you stumped me now. Let me think about that one. I think um, I think one that I just mentioned, at times it felt like being on a team not was a failure, but that I wasn't fulfilling what I needed to fulfill in myself. I wasn't able to use my ideas. I wasn't able to lead in any way. And that just kind of felt like a failure until I finally got the guts to go out on my own and do my own thing. So
Mm.
that was one. I think also finally learning how to fire people who don't treat you correctly or don't respect you. That's
Yeah.
when it feels like a failure in the moment. Currently, I think I feel like a failure in the moment when I don't get the listing because I'm honest about what the price should be. But in the
Yeah.
end, it's a win because a lot of times my husband loves to say, you love being the second agent instead of the first. They'll come back to you. And it's true. But in
Good
that
point.
moment, it feels like such a loss not to get it. But then more times than not, they come back after that. So I think that's a lot of just different ways in different areas where you feel that feeling.
Yeah, especially that last one is seeing the long game,
Yeah.
right? Rather than it's
Yeah.
tough in the short term to be like, I lost out on that. But it's like, no, my integrity stayed
Yeah.
intact. I was honest, and now they know, hey, you're dealing
Exactly.
with an honest person if you want to work with me. And hey, if you're not right for somebody, it means they're not right for you either.
Exactly.
Final question for you here, Dana, and that is simply for those who are listening who are in the North Georgia area and they're thinking, wow, this woman really knows her stuff. I would love to get in contact with her, whether I'm buying or whether I'm selling a home. How can folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my website's probably the easiest way. It's luxegeorgiarealestate.com. All my information's there. You can check us out in all the areas that we serve, and we'd love to serve you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, Dana, for joining me and sharing all of your insights over the last 25 years with me here on the Leverage Podcast.